Welcome to Milwaukee Artists, the show that visits local artists to pick their brains and find out what it's like in the creative community here in the city. I'm your host, Trevor Foley. First up, we visit Jessie Harlequin, a painter whose vision is an abstract and striking take on traditional portraiture and still life, which has also made a name for her in Madison. But now she's come back to her hometown of Milwaukee.
You're kind of given options in grade school and you play around with different things, and I guess I was always fabulous with my crayons and coloring books and stuff like that, and my parents were really supportive of just that kind of stuff and always provided me with supplies, and I just kind of ran with it. My parents have been extremely encouraging. I come from a fairly artistic family. My mom does a lot of crafts and my dad does sculpture, and so for me to pursue this with my education, they've been really wonderful, and just I couldn't ask for other parents. Wisconsin inspires me, specifically Milwaukee, just old buildings, the Rust Belt, I guess, is really inspiring to me. Yeah, just city living, I guess, is the best thing. I mean, you have to take from what you know. And so I ride my bike everywhere and I check out the city, get to know it. I walk everywhere. I can walk from the north side to the south side and be perfectly happy because there's always so much to look at and so much that you would miss otherwise. And so I find a lot of hidden treasures that inspire my work that way. I focus mainly on color and texture. I want tons of color, tons of texture. I want you to be able to get as close as you possibly can. I mean, almost touch it, maybe touch it, possibly go ahead. It's just, I want there to be more of I want people to be more involved with the art itself. I also really enjoy doing portraits, and people are really fascinating, and I really would like to capture a lot of the emotion that just a single second can have in a more abstracted way. As for the number of paintings, I wouldn't even know. Probably about 30, close to 30. They're not all here. I try to pawn them off on my friends and family, whoever's willing to put a 30 by 40 painting in their house is pretty much up for grabs at this point. But yeah, I'm constantly making work and the numbers getting up there. Yeah, everyone's just been so supportive. I was involved in a few different art collectives. I had a few different independent shows, and people seem to respond really positively towards it. And so I'm looking forward to being in Milwaukee and having this kind of community. It's hard work, and it's a lot of being self-motivated and being able to be strongly self-disciplined. It's a lot of just making yourself work regardless, because that's what you do, that's what you need to do. And so it definitely takes a lot of time just to not be so, you just need to be focused. You can't rely on people to just make you an artist or just say you're an artist. You really need to be focused and push yourself as far as you can go. You really have to be determined. You have to be ambitious. You have to go out and grab it by its shirt collar and take what you want from it. No one else is going to make you an artist other than yourself. And if you want it bad enough, you can make it happen. You just have to be able to let go of everything else and just run with it regardless, and how people react to your work or how you're kind of feeling about certain pieces. It's just, you just need to keep going as far as you possibly can with it.
Jessie is currently displaying her work in the Madison area, so be sure to look out for that. Velleman is a musician you may have seen around town. During the summertime and even during the colder months, you can find him playing on the streets, usually alone and sometimes with friends.
I'm David Velleman. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin originally, and I play jazz saxophone. Well, I was born here in 1984 on July 19th. I studied piano when I was about 7 years old, between the time of 7 and 11. And I moved to New York after I attended MATC. All right, when I was in New York, I got to learn a lot about life as well as music. And I got to play with a lot of great musicians, and I got to play almost every single night because they have jam sessions at places like Cleopatra's Needle, and also, what's another one? Smalls is a big one. But I learned from a fellow named Eric Rivas, who plays with Branford Marsalis, and he's a really great bass player. He plays with a lot of people. I learned from him the possibility of, you know, how it's possible for me to take over and really actually have a very meaningful statement, and that was very powerful and important to me and very poignant to me. But I also learned quite a bit from a guy named Saul Rubin, who actually writes charts for a lot of the great musicians. He writes a lot of the big band charts and stuff. I think it might be kind of like an ego thing. The older cats are usually a little bit more supportive, and they're bringing in the younger guys, whereas the younger guys are always trying to cut everybody, you know, trying to cut all the other younger guys down. After living on the East Coast for about a year there in New York, and then for 6 months in Vermont, I decided to move back because basically I figured out that I had a lot of friends here, and I had a lot more work to go as far as things were concerned. Also, the money was quite expensive, especially in I think we were paying about $800 a piece between me and my friend, who's a trumpet player. So it was quite expensive. We decided to move back here for that pretty much reason, which is kind of a common thing for a lot of musicians to do in jazz music, such as there's a fellow named David Hazeltine, who's a great piano player. He's a friend of my father's. He moved back a couple times, and now he's playing with Eric Alexander and a lot of really great musicians. So I think it's kind of a, you know, a step-by-step type move kind of thing. So I plan to get back there soon. The music scene here is very good. There are a lot of great musicians and very friendly people who I'm good friends with, who I played with in both the singing realm as well as the instrumental realm, and many different styles of music. There's a lot of different styles of music that you can play, and that's also very refreshing and nice. And in New York, you would get probably paid more, and it's kind of a competition thing. Like, I think there might be a little bit, quite a bit less competition here than there is there. But that's by no means would affect the level of creativity that would come out of the musicians in certain ways. It's just, I think it's a matter of self-confidence and love and work ethic for the music that really makes the music good. So as long as they have these elements, it'll be successful. It's always been important to me to practice at least well, hopefully at least 2 to 3 hours a day at a minimum. And so when I was younger, I used to practice much more. I used to practice probably about 8 hours a day, every day when I was in high school and stuff. And so I just try to keep up with that, and I try to work on the tunes in the books that I'm working on at the time, as well as some material that I want to work on, as well as getting out what's in my head onto the instrument, which is what it's all about, essentially, for me, is just a connection between my brain and what I know about chords and the instrument, and getting out as much emotion as I can with those means. The art of improvisation, what can you say? There are so many things you can base it off of. I think the first and foremost thing should be, of course, your own life experience, because that's where you draw your pain from and your beauty from, and that's what you view. But there a host of great musicians to take it from, and I always think that each musician is representative of a different style of music, whereas oftentimes people will lump a style together as one thing, whereas they can see themselves that, say, Pink Floyd doesn't sound like Rancid or you know, like a group like that, even though it's all rock and roll. Like Stan Getz doesn't sound like Coltrane. So there are a lot to learn from these fellows about how to express yourself, and each one has their own way, and it's great because, like in all things in life, if there's somebody you don't like the playing of, then you can always just omit it. Whereas if there's someone you love, then you can apply a whole bunch of that to yourself. So it's really a beautiful art form, and for me, and I think for a lot of other people, I think for just about everybody who does it, it's almost like something that just kind of lifts the weight off life. So your life can become much more manageable and enjoyable and just great, and hopefully you're giving something to people that they'll enjoy as well. I'm relatively known for throughout the area is playing outside, which I'll do when the weather is nice. It does make some money, and it's also a good way to get out what I've been practicing and rehearsing and have people hear it and actually hear what they have to think about it. And it's a beautiful thing. Some people think it's very strange or weird or one thing or another, but it's I've been playing a fair amount around town. You can hear me with Jerry Weitzer's group, or in A Wicked Long Day, which is the name of the group, and then there are a number of other projects that I'm forming, which will be coming out soon. So just look it up, and I hope you enjoy.
Dave can be found out and about on Brady Street almost all summer long, as well as a few shows at bars around the city. Orrin Alexander is the owner of local media production company Soup O Funk. He's worked with many local musicians to create music videos and general promotions for events. He's hoping to work his way up to create his first film submission to the Milwaukee Film Festival.
Hi, I'm Orrin. I run Soup O Funk, which is a very small filmmaking company. I'm originally from Tennessee, and I moved up here after my sister and I watched American Movie, and I decided to go to UWM for film school. And I decided to stay mainly because the city is so eclectic, and they're real permissive for like weirdness and kind of out there ideas. And I've really, especially in the music scene, there's so much different stuff going on. You've got heavy metal bands, you've got folk bands, you've got blues bands, you've got jazz bands, and it all comes together and they all know each other. So you can go to a show where you've got, you know, a band that's more heavy metal or hard rock, and the opening act might be a singer-songwriter or, you know, a more bluesy band. Also, the attitudes of the people here, it's, you know, we spend so much time in the winter locked up indoors, and then as soon as it hits about 50 degrees in the springtime, everybody acts like it's summer, and you've got music festivals that are outside, and you've got gallery openings and just all these performances and stuff, and you've got all these things to do, and then you get to relax in the winter again. So the general seasonal change of the city is nice. At heart, I'm a filmmaker. The digital stuff is great because it's cheap, and you can, you know, it's really hard to mess up. But with film, there's something about the care and the precision that's it's almost like an animating property to it, where you actually have to, you know, be very precise with your movements and what you want to be done before you even shoot it. And I think with video, you have a tendency to just hit the record button and, you know, just get as many takes as you can, without really exploring the differences between the shots. I'm definitely influenced by the 1970s horror movies, and also the blaxploitation movies from the 70s, Cleopatra Jones and Shaft and all those movies, because they were made with such a low budget, but there was something really raw and honest about the way that they were shot. Ever since I was a kid, I was really into horror movies, And my parents were always they were trying to like get that out of me. So they always were showing me a lot of foreign films and, you know, the good movies. So I learned to appreciate, you know, actual cinematography and things like that. And so I love watching foreign films because a lot of the themes they explore are similar to Americans, but they do it in such a much different way that you can definitely learn a lot from their filmmaking and storytelling style. Currently I'm shooting a lot of music videos for bands. I'll go and tape the shows, and then I'll put a couple of them together, either using live audio that I recorded at the show, or else using their studio work. And then I'm doing this pro bono in exchange for getting their music, getting the rights to use their music for various film projects I have. I've worked with the Ragadors, the Wild Birds, the Delta Routine, Cameron McGill and What Army, Margot and the Nuclear So-and-Sos, No Sleep for the Bear, my cousin's band Dress Down, and they've actually now become Tiger Clutch, and Favorite Shaped Triangle. It would be remiss of me not to mention the band that really introduced me and opened a lot of doors for me in the music scene, and that would be Icarus Down, because I ended up meeting one of the members through actually two of the members through two separate mutual friends, and we just started hanging out, and we started talking about music and stuff like that, and I started shooting their shows, and through them, I met a lot of their opening acts, and they just introduced me to a lot of great music that's local to Milwaukee. I've been doing this for about 2 years, and I've really fallen in love with working with the bands. When I first started, I wasn't real crazy about the idea of just being another, music video maker. But I mean, when you have stories about guys like lead singers invariably are the most unreliable people. And I remember the first time I went to shoot a band, and the lead singer didn't show up, and his excuse was that he had Lyme disease. But he only had Lyme disease for a day. So the Spinal Tap stories are just, they're too funny because they end up being true. Another goal for 2011 is to get my annual fundraiser larger, and that's Supovember Fest. Last year we had it at the Why Not 3, and I had a couple bands play, and basically it basically fills up my account so I can buy equipment for the following year. And if I were to give anybody any advice, and if you were trying to start your own business, I would say, first of all, don't quit your day job. And one of the things that stuck with me when I graduated from college was my senior class teacher, Tate Bunker, told us that for most of the people in that class, our senior project would be our last film that we ever made. And he said, for most of you, you'll probably not get a job in the industry. For those of you that do, you're going to spend 8 hours a day editing or shooting or lighting somebody else's work. And the last thing you're going to want to do is when you come home, start working on your own stuff. And going into film, I always knew that it was like a passion thing, and it wasn't something I was ever going to be rich doing. And so I made sure, first of all, when I say don't quit your day job, health insurance, like the actual necessities of life, one of them would be health insurance, shelter, all that stuff. You got to make sure you got that, because filmmaking is expensive. You have to buy equipment. If something goes wrong in your set, you're responsible. All that stuff. It can get real, entangled that way. Me personally, I never took any business classes, so if you're still in school, take some business classes. I kind of have an idea, but when it comes down to cost projection and break-even projections and things like that, it helps to know what you're actually talking about. So yeah, that having been said, good luck. If you'd like to see any of my previous work and a lot of my student work, it's all on YouTube, YouTube/Supo.
We'd like to thank you all for watching us tonight, all of our artists for taking the time to talk with us, and thank the wonderful students, instructors, and station personnel for making it all happen. From Milwaukee Artists, I'm Trevor Foley.